This week I learned that if I was always on vacation, I'd read books a lot faster. Hey, what's up, bookworms? Mike back with another weekly update, Saturday edition, because everything did just kind of get bumped a day. You think when you're on vacation, you think that you'd be more on schedule. It turns out you're more off schedule, but hey, these are the problems that we live with. But guys, lots of fun things happen this week. It is a Stephen King release week. That's always a fun week. But let's begin like usual, guys, talking about what am I reading while I was waiting until Tuesday for Fairy Tale to come out. I just was like, what do I do? What do I do? I don't want to start Blackest Heart yet. So I decided I was going to read A.R. Witham's Legend of Blackjack because he's just been such an awesome guy. He's been a real contributor on our Discord. And I said, why not? I'll give it a shot. My wife is listening to the audiobook and she was really liking it. A couple of my moderators have been really, really high on the book. I said, why not? I'll give it a go. Got about I'd say about a third into it before Fairy Tale came out, so I'll be kind of just wrapping that in whenever I can. But interesting premise. I like the way that it started. It was very, very talisman-y. So let's hope it ends better than Talisman did for me. But I do like what Mr. Witham is doing there. And like I said, I don't audio, guys, but the feedback I got from my wife is that he has a very, very good reading voice. So maybe you guys should pick up the audio. I'll drop the link down below. And then, of course, guys, yes, the big event was Fairy Tale, which I did finish. And I know people are like, oh my God, how'd you read that in 2 days? Guys, you're on vacation. The kids were at school. The wife was at work. I had nothing else to do. And you can do that with a Stephen King book, even one that's a chunky 600 pages like this one was. So I got my review up a lot quicker than I expected. But kind of a mixed bag for me, really. I think that there was a lot to like. I liked a lot of the nods to like the Brothers Grimm, to H.P. Lovecraft, especially to Ray Bradbury. Those are things that I really did like. I liked the way that he did the character relationships in this one, something he's always really good at. Just kind of some decisions he made about the 60% mark that kind of dragged some things down, kind of killed the momentum for me. And even though the ending was great, I don't know if it ever really got that momentum back for me that it had, almost the first, 2/3 of the book. So, I think your mileage is going to vary on that. I think that some people have seemed to like that part that I didn't really like. But it went from me saying, okay, this is the best book that he's written since Revival to this is about on par or just better than The Institute. So if you really like The Institute, then maybe that's something that you wanted to hear, But for me, Revival is the best book he's written in, the last decade. And this doesn't come close to that. But I would say I put it above Billy Summers. I put it above The Institute, but I wouldn't quite put it up there with Later or The Outsider or Revival at this point. So definitely worth your time, but it's not going to be a book I say you must break your TBR, drop everything you're doing right now to read it. So that's kind of where I went with that. But still always a really good book. And again, at this point in Stephen King's career, if he's still putting out books that I'm excited to read on release day and I don't feel like it's a chore or it's just a big letdown, then I think that, we're blessed as Stephen King fans to have that at this point. To still be getting a full-size novel from him every single year and never feeling like it was a waste of your time. That's a great, great thing, I think, as a fan and a constant reader. So I'll be interested to see what you guys think. What am I going to read, guys? Well, like I said, I'm going to continue to work on Legend of Blackjack there. But I was very excited to get back into this, guys. Blackest Heart. It's book 2 of 5 Warrior Angels by Brian Lee Durfee. Simon & Schuster Saga Press. The sequel to The Forgetting Moon, which if you've watched that review, you guys know that I did love The Forgetting Moon. And this has started right where that one left off. I'm only about 100 pages in or so. But it definitely doesn't take a long time to get established this time since you already know these characters and these occasions. Now we can just full speed ahead. Brian has just kind of took off here from the very beginning. Still got a lot of the cat and mouse things that I liked from the first book going on. But we're getting a lot more about this Assassin's Guild, if you will. And it's really good stuff. I'm really liking where he's going with it. And I have no idea what he's going to do with some things. There's been already some surprises, some confirmations of things I was speculating upon from the Forgetting Moon, and already he's kind of surprised with a couple things. But anytime you can get that, hey, I was right, that always feels really cool. Unfortunately, that only happens for me about 1 out of every 10. But when they do happen, it's a lot of fun. So I'm looking forward to continuing that this week. That really is all I have planned. I would still like to get Jade Setter of Jean Lune in there because, guys, I'm going to be talking to finally in a week. And so, I've already read the Greenbone trilogy, so I think I'd be fine. But, I'd like to be able to say, hey, yeah, I also read that novella. It's really short. I'm sure I can probably do it in a sitting or two. So I'll probably try to get that in there sometime this week along with The Blackest Heart. But that's really all I've got really planned on the docket for right now. Blackest Heart's such a big boy. And I will be going back to work on Monday that I'm not going to fly through it as fast as I did Fairy Tale, especially now, it's the weekend and the kids are here. But let's go ahead and talk about this week on the channel. Something I didn't know I was going to do was talk about Rings of Power on Amazon, at least not as far as making a video for it. I thought I'd just talk about it on here. I wanted to talk about it because I said that if I had some positive things to say, I'd make a video about it. And I did. However, that video I felt was very, very mixed. I did get, obviously I make a video like that, it's going to get a lot of eyes from people who aren't subscribers that were very curious about the show. And guys, if you looked on YouTube, there's no shortage of people giving opinions about this show. I both got called sexist and an Amazon shill in that review. So it is really weird because I do feel like I gave plenty of pros and plenty of cons about the series. It wasn't as insulting as I thought it was going to be, but it definitely isn't anything that I say, oh yeah, this stands right there with the Lord of the Rings trilogy or the books. I never really said that, but I still think it's funny. I got this with Wheel of Time too, that people think that Amazon would pay me for my opinions because I'm not overly negative. Guys, I've sold Amazon probably about 500 to 1,000 Kindles, and they wouldn't even give me a Paperwhite demo to show in for the new Paperwhite for that video. So I don't think they really give a damn about my opinions on these things. I think maybe some of that is that I have some new viewers, people who aren't subscribers to the channel, maybe it'd be their first exposure to the channel, and they don't understand that when I how I break things down. I'll give my positive and then I'll give my negative in a constructive way. I don't flip tables, I don't scream, I don't cuss, I don't cry like a little baby who had their toy taken away when I talk about the negatives, because that's what a lot of the Rings of Power videos are. And I'm not saying that criticism is not valid. A lot of the things that some of those overly negative videos are saying is extremely valid. I just go about expressing those things a little differently. So maybe that's what they wanted. But I enjoyed the show mostly. The first episode I didn't really care for. Second episode I thought was a lot better. As of recording this, I haven't watched episode 3 yet. I want to watch it with my kids. So that's going to happen probably today. But as far as those first 2 episodes, I want to talk about them. Talk about the things that I do know, but I admit that I am not a Tolkien scholar, guys. I've read the Silmarillion once, and I read it in high school when I was a teenager, and I wasn't ready for anything like that. So I should probably revisit it. As far as the appendices, I think I've read them twice, so I'm just going completely off of memory here. But for the most part, I expected a lot worse. But, hey, it is what it is. It's the internet. You're going to get some wild, wild thoughts, and people have wild, wild thoughts about that show so far. I wrapped up the month and did my book of the month. It was a very, very hard battle for my book of the month. And if you want to know what that is, guys, it's real easy. You just click on this video, or as Brian Lee Durfee would say, just type in book of the month, August 2022 Mike's book review up in the search bar, and it'll magically appear, or you can just click the video here that I have. But talking about my book of the month there, why it was so close, and then of course what my favorite was, what the most popular stuff on the channel was, why it was actually a pretty successful month as far as growth goes for the channel, is really what the whole purpose of those wrap-ups are, to talk about everything I read. And I think someone brought up the idea of doing like a power ranking at the end of the year of my 12 books of the month, and how I would ranking my ranking kind of thing. I think that's a neat idea, but you guys let me know what you think about something like that. And then of course I did my review for Fairy Tale. Only reason I was able to get this done so quick, like I said, guys, is because I was on vacation. I did have the house to myself. So, but that is why this is on Saturday today, because it just kind of threw everything off an extra day, and I wasn't doing anything else until I finished reading the book. So, the fairy tale review, obviously, a lot of interest in people that were either on the fence about it, or they've never read King, or they want to know, do I need to read The Dark Tower first? Any of those things. I was happy to be able to answer those questions in a non-spoiler kind of way. And I feel like that one, it's gotten a lot more than, say, my Rings of Power video, where people understand my negative criticism of the book and the way that I give it. So that one probably went over a little better. And then, of course, guys, you talk about Rings of Power, you got to talk about its adversary, which is House of the Dragon on HBO. Now, I know these two shows are not similar in the least, but they're the two big fantasy shows on right now, and we had to talk about them. And we did so when we talked about Second of His Name on Throne Zone. That was episode number 3 with Madison and Scott talking about that. I love doing those, guys. I think it's so fun just to feel like we can actually talk about Game of Thrones again. Talk about Song of Ice and Fire again without just the overall negative. I mean, you still get every once in a while, you still get the person be like, who cares? We know how season 8 ends. And that's fine. If you can't enjoy anything else because of that, that's completely your prerogative. I'm really enjoying the show. I think it's getting better every single week. And yeah, it's a great time to be a fantasy fan, I think. And I don't really know what else to say about it. I'm really, really excited to keep talking about it. But let's go ahead and talk about some next week plans. So in case you guys don't know, every Monday night we're going to be doing Throne Zone. That is our House of the Dragon after show. So we'll be doing that for episode number 4, which I'm not sure what the title of that one is yet. I think just knowing the events that are going to be happening in that one, I think the show's just going to get better and better. And like I just said, very, very exciting about it. I'm going to be doing my spooky season plans. What this is, guys, if you don't know, spooky season on the channel, it's just everything I plan to read for October, where I focus on horror, because I don't do that very much on the channel. But I think that horror in October is the one month you can really get away with doing a lot of horror content. And I don't know how much actual content I'm going to do, but as far as like what I'm going to be reading for the month of October is all horror stuff. And I'm really excited to do it. I think I like to do that to give people time to, if they want to read along on some of these, to acquire the book, to rearrange their TBR, to get things wrapped up before that. So it's always a lot of fun for me, guys, because I do love the horror genre, and I don't feel like I talk about it enough on the channel. So yeah, that announcement's always just kind of like an annual thing. It's really, really exciting for me to do. That'll be probably coming out on Tuesday, since Monday will be Throne Zone. And then because of Fairy Tale, Return of the King, the final Lord of the Rings trilogy review I was going to do, keeps getting bumped. That's 2 weeks in a row now I've had to bump it. The Rings of Power and then the Fairy Tale review this week just kind of left no room for me to do the Return of the King review, so I will be getting that one out, I promise, for next week. That one will be coming out, and that'll be wrapping up all of our Lord of the Rings talk. For now, I don't know that I would ever go into, talking about, say I reread Silmarillion. I'm not really sure that my audience is interested in something like that, and talking about the Silmarillion, because that's something that you really, really, really got to be deep into the lore. That'd be like reviewing A World of Ice and Fire. Don't really know if there's an audience for that, but I would like to get into reading, Unfinished Tales, Beren and Luthien, Fall of Gondolin, Children of Hurin. I've never read those before, so it just kind of depends on you guys. I feel like Tolkien interest has been tepid at best on the channel, but maybe Rings of Power is going to get more people interested in it. Look at the whole thing, no matter how you feel about Rings of Power, if it gets more people interested in reading Tolkien, I look at that as a win. Let's talk about some TV and movie talk stuff before I go here. The House of the Dragon ratings did explode. Now, Episode 1 pulled in 10 million viewers, which I'm pretty sure they were happy with. Episode 2 actually ticked up 10.2 million viewers. Episode number 3, guys, 16 million viewers. So I think that you're seeing a trend here that's, okay, not only is the show a mega hit for HBO, not only is the Song of Ice and Fire brand much, much stronger than I think people thought it was going to be, but I feel like now even the biggest detractors, the ones that were like, zero chance I'm going to watch because of what happened with Game of Thrones, I think word of mouth and FOMO has literally got to them where they're like, okay, fine, I'm going to do it. That's the only way you can explain it, going up almost 6 million viewers over one weekend. So yeah, this is a great, great time. like I said, to be a fantasy fan. And, I think it's just kind of proven because Rings of Power's audience also got 25 million. Now, that's the one, like, how much of that are they going to retain? Because I do think, obviously, Lord of the Rings is probably one of the biggest fandoms of all time. So I think that enough people were going to be interested in at least seeing. They're curious about this. But also, I think there's more people who have Prime Video access to it because they already have a Prime membership than have like an HBO Max or something like that. So what does it hurt them? They've already paid for this video service to just, be curious and check it out. So it'll be interesting to see how the viewership for episode number 3 goes. But I gotta say, I don't know what Amazon's internals are, what they need to get to feel happy for a return on investment. I mean, I think to them, what's going to matter the most is how many new subscribers to Prime Video are we getting because of this show. I think that's how they consider this a win or not. But you know what? I think Amazon's bottom line is going to be fine. I think with this show, just it being successful just depends on if they're going to keep, putting so much time and money and effort into their streaming service. So that's kind of what really matters to them. Cobra Kai, guys. Cobra Kai is back, season number 5. So what a great weekend. New Rings of Power episode, Cobra Kai season 5, a new episode of House of the Dragon. This is a great, great weekend. It made me glad I'm done reading Fairy Tale because I might have to be a little couch potato. And the NFL season kicks off here on Sunday, if you're into that in the States here, and I very much am. So great weekend ahead. I can't wait to just spend some time on the sofa, getting those last few hours of relaxation in before I go back to work on Monday. But Cobra Kai, I say it and people seem like they don't believe me. Best written character show on TV. No one does their characters as great as them. I really truly believe that. When you come to the whole thing about legacy characters and the next generation, no one does it better. No one does it better. I mean, look at what Top Gun Maverick just did. I feel like that very much is the same method that Cobra Kai used successfully. And it's what I wish they'd have done with Star Wars, So I'm always going to bring it up. But I can't wait to do it. They've actually made Terry Silver a compelling villain, and that's just incredible because, that guy was awful in Karate Kid 3, and he was great in Season 4. I can't wait to see what happens in season number 5. Before I go, guys, did watch Mission Impossible number 2 with my kid. I did kind of warn him, guys, this is my least favorite one of the Mission Impossibles. I don't know how you're going to kind of feel about it. He did say he felt like the plot was even more confusing in the first one, and he wasn't wrong. It's not a bad movie. It's got some fun action sequences. They're very dated. They're very, late 90s, early 2000s John Woo action sequences that were kind of absurd. I feel like Ethan acts so out of character in that one, just different than he does in every other Mission Impossible movie. It's just so weird. Almost seems like it was a different movie and they just threw the Mission Impossible stuff on top of it. But, hey, it's still fine. And I gotta say, I think if Mission Impossible 2 is the worst movie in your franchise, you've got a pretty good franchise going. But for me, 3 and then 4 and then 5 and then 6, I think they get better each one. So I'm excited that he's into it enough that he wants to keep going, because I wasn't sure, because his first 2 movies are really, really confusing plot-wise, but he's interested enough in the whole spy game thing, and I'm hoping this will eventually lead him down a road of discovering James Bond. That one I'm kind of going to let him discover on his own. But with Mission Impossible, I feel like, that could be somewhat family-friendly. James Bond, there's a lot more stuff I think would be awkward watching it with your parents, if you know what I mean. But with Mission Impossible, I feel like it's mostly good family entertainment, good action stuff. So I'm excited to watch Mission Impossible 3 again, because in my memory, that's the best villain in the series. So we'll probably be doing that sometime during the week if we get a chance, because like I said, I do have a busy weekend of TV stuff to watch. But guys, that was my week. A Stephen King release week is always a fun week. But what about you guys? What are you watching? What are you reading? What are you listening to? What are you playing? Drop in the comments and let me know, and have an awesome, awesome weekend.